great falling away will come first. The Antichrist will come second. Then the rapture will be third. First thing is a falling away. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know why all this rise of false pastors, false prophets, and fake believers everywhere, that's what is going on now. Is the prelude to the rise of the beast. Because when the beast come, people have to agree with him, especially Christians. He is not going to gain global power without their support. There has to be pastors, there have to be popes and bishops that must give him the backing. Without that, it's not going to happen. Preserve the knowledge of Christ. This is the time. Get to know him for yourself. And if you have not gone through discipleship and all that, this is the time. Days are coming. You'll be looking for church. You can't have this opportunity again. The way the church will exit is the way Israel exited Egypt. They were in Egypt when all the plagues, all those 10 plagues, even till the last one. But God protected them in the midst of it all. And after all of that, God removed his people out of Egypt and sent them to the promised land. That's how it's going to happen again. Now that we have the time, my friends, rise up now and begin to preach the gospel. Now we still have the time. Days are coming. You can't hold service. You can't. Now you can do crusades. Rise up and do it. Now you can plant church. Rise up and plant it. Now you can start a cell. Start doing it. Better make sure that your life counts. Now that it's still free, you still have the freedom. You must learn to practice God's presence. Those days are coming. We've been taking pastors for granted, church service for granted. Hey. You're going to have to be your own pastor. You're going to have to pastor your children. Let me talk to us today. Every one of you should go and study the Chinese church, what happened during the communist era. Christianity, there were about 800,000 Christians when the communist revolution. Chairman Mao led the communist revolution. And there were 10,000 missionaries. They were all sent out of China. All the pastors were arrested. Somebody like Watchman Nee stayed and died in prison. One of the most prominent Chinese preachers of that time. They sacked all the missionaries, arrested all the pastors, seized all the church buildings. Not a single church building was left. Stopped any form of broadcast on TV or on any form of technology. And then started hunting Bibles. He didn't want any Bible of any type in the whole of China. The Western missionaries from America, from Britain, all cried. They were praying for China. They said the church, because it's a young church, it will die. Who told you? Church does not die because of persecution. I said fire does not destroy gold, it only purifies it. When China finally opened up to the world again, after 30 years, you know what they found? That less than 1 million believers, 800,000, has grown to about 150 million. Now, go Google what I'm saying. The Christians, evangelical born-again Christians in China are more than all the people in the Communist Party. The Communist Party has about 90 million people. The church grew when it went underground. The church grew when they removed all the pastors. The church grew when they removed all the church building. The church grew when they stopped crusade. The church grew when they stopped preaching on TV. The church grew when they removed. Of course, what the missionaries now, the Western churches did, is to make sure they found a way to smuggle Bible, and they caught some of the smugglers. Now, watch. When communism fell, they found out that the church that was not up to 1 million, 800 and something, has grown to over 150 million. What happened? It was when believers discovered that we are all ministers, we are all priests. Every family becomes church, and that's when the thing grew. So if you're talking about great tribulation, the Chinese people have experienced it, the early church has experienced it, Christians are experiencing it in the Middle East. One of the fastest growing church now is happening in Iran. One of the strategies for the end time church going forward is to return back to discipleship and to return back to small groups. And all of you that are listening to me, start your own cell. That is the way forward. These large congregations and worship services, this thing has shaken it up now. This lockdown, something more serious is on the horizon. Make sure you are a functional priest, that you know God. Start reading your Bible. People don't study their Bible anymore. They only come on Sunday, open their mouth for pastors to feed them. Now, when the pastor is saying something wrong, you can't tell. What will happen is a test. I'm reading it, this Amplified Bible, to refine, to purify, and to make those among God's people white, even to the time of the end, because it's yet for an appointed time. So apart from the separation, to remove false believers, is also to prepare us for the rapture. And that's why I tell, if you remain a lukewarm Christian, what will wake you up is coming. You better not wait for that. Now we have the time. Let's take advantage of it to reach the world for Christ, to reach our communities, to reach our cities, to make sure that our family members are in the ark before the flood starts, to make sure that we reach everybody. Now we have technology, the freedom to do everything. Let's utilize it. Now we have the chance. Let's live for God and live for Christ and be completely sold out to Him.